Just seeing. Okay, cool. There it is, showing up now. Well, hey guys, thanks for joining on a Friday. Happy Friday to you all. My name's David Picton. I work with students in Southeast Asia on behalf of the University of Illinois Chicago and specifically UIC Global. So a specific area where we look at how we support international students. So coming from my region, as it were, students in the Philippines, students in Thailand, where I am based, as well as Myanmar, Indonesia, anywhere really in Southeast Asia. So thanks for joining today. I'm joined by my colleague Vincent as well, who some of you may have met. He's based in Manila, so he does school outreach as well. And I want to just give you guys an overview today of the university. We'll keep it pretty light and simple though, because again, if you guys have questions, as Melissa mentioned, feel free to come off mute and ask them, or if you prefer, you can type in the chat. So we'll give you a bit of an overview of the university first, and then feel free to, don't be shy, basically. Do feel free to ask questions and that kind of thing. But I hope what you'll get from the session is just a better understanding about, maybe a bit about Chicago as well, but in particular the university. It's got a really good story, and why it might be right for you. Again, this is me talking, so I'd rather listen to you guys and understand what you're looking for in a university, because every university is different, and so UIC has its unique selling points, but it's not for everyone. So again, I do hope that what you take from it is this the right kind of university for me? Is this the kind of place I could get more interested in? And then we can do one-on-one conversations afterwards, or at a later date when you're applying for universities, all those kind of things as well. But it is a specific university, so I'll try and talk a bit about why it might be right for you, or you can work out why you may be looking for different types of universities as well. So I'm just going to start with a video. Please, hopefully this is going to be loud enough, so you just get a flavor for the university.
This is opportunity.
This is for the student.
Chicago's Public Research University. This is discovery.
This is a way of life.
UIC keeps me involved in the community.
I will change the world because of UIC.
Cool. So hopefully you guys could, there's a lot of images in that. So I'll try and break it down a little bit, but hopefully that gave you a bit of a flavor, because kind of what you see in terms of the skyline, the city skyline for Chicago, we're in Chicago. So as some of the students alluded to, we kind of UIC is the city of Chicago, and Chicago is UIC. It's really intertwined, and I think that is a special part of who we are. UIC is the tier 1 research university, public research university for the city of Chicago. So it's where students will go, in particular if they are interested in research opportunities. We'll talk a bit about some of those things, but that could be a factor for you guys. If you're, even if it's not a science or engineering, even something like drama, film, media studies, different types of subjects do get research opportunities. And I'll probably cover, this may come up again in some of the slides, but it's really important to stress that, you know, these opportunities are there even as an undergrad. So for your kind of, once you finish school, your immediate bachelor's, you'll have that opportunity as well. So it's pretty special in that respect. And then kind of on the slide here, of course, you get the fact that we have a full campus as well. So you can kind of be on campus and look across to Sears Tower, which is in the photo here. You can kind of find your bearings, but we have a full campus. So we are, as you might have guessed, an urban campus. And this is, again, what I'm talking about when I mentioned earlier about you need to work out what's right for you. You know, do you see yourselves in a bigger city, which we could be right, but we still have a full campus as well, and a nice green campus. Or you might want to be in a kind of quintessential college town in the US, if you're considering the US. That's kind of the typical Hollywood colleges you see in the movies. It's that kind of college town, the American football team, that kind of stuff. We're not that. We're an urban environment, very forward thinking. We have fantastic sports teams, things like basketball, but not American football. So we're not that kind of Hollywood college, I guess, in that respect. But what you get from us is, of course, that research opportunity and academic excellence as well, of course. So really exciting news this week is the momentum carries on for us at UIC. So one of the things that we're particularly proud of is the fact that the rankings for US News, which is the de facto ranking system for most US universities, it's one of the ones you can rely on. We are, I think it was Wednesday, certainly Wednesday morning our time in Southeast Asia, we got the new rankings in, and UIC jumped up to 112 nationally. So that's its overall ranking. Rankings aren't everything. So it can be a good jumping point or starting point for your research if you're just getting started. But it's a good thing just to find out how to compare a few universities. And then, of course, beyond that, specific rankings for something you might be interested in. So the major or subject you're interested in studying. So worth pointing that out. Another thing we'll touch on today is the career opportunities. So as it says here, Chicago itself is home to 30 plus Fortune 500 companies. UIC graduates normally come out of college earning quite a high salary, actually, as well. And that can be great because I want to make sure when you look at a university, whether that's UIC or somewhere else, you're thinking about the value and the investment and not looking at it just as cost. So, of course, everyone has different budgets and so on, but it's worth framing it in that way, just so you understand kind of what you're getting from the university and why any university could be valuable for you as an individual. And we'll touch on that a bit as well. And then I think finally, just the diversity we have in UIC and in the city of Chicago. I think if you're really looking for true diversity, you just want to be one of many different students, you'll definitely get that in a city like Chicago. I think that is actually really important as well. And if you're keen to be an international student and be a true, what I define a true international student, you can find that with us at UIC, because, you know, we probably have around 10% now international students, but that's still a nice healthy mix. And then the diversity of people from the US, from Chicago as well. Whereas some places, some universities, international study destinations, they have 30 or 40% international students. So in some cases, it can be a bit different in terms of how you're getting out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself. And you can really do that in a city like Chicago and at the University of Illinois, Chicago. That was a video, but I'm going to gloss over this one just for now. We can obviously offer that video if you guys would like to watch it later. But Chicago itself is a fantastic city. So I'm not sure if anyone's had the opportunity to go visit, but it's a really good place for getting out and about. So you'd have your student life, your campus life, but you'll have access to the city as well. So I'm just going to move forward because I think this is a better slide to actually illustrate that. So if you look at the map here, if you guys can look and you can see where it says UIC East Campus in red, and then there's a circle around that. That's a 1.5 mile radius. So what you're looking at is you can get out and walk around. If you're like me, you like walking, you can get out into the city itself and just walk there. It is accessible. We have the loop as well, so the public transport, the train. You can get a CTA pass as a student and get around town as well. So we are within touching distance of pretty much everything in terms of the pictures you see here. So Millennium Park with Anish Kapoor's The Bean, as it's locally known, the sculpture in the picture at the bottom. We have beaches in Chicago and the lakefront as well. And then the museum kind of aspect in the top photo as well. So the city itself has a lot going for itself, and you are in the heart of it. And I think that's an important part, again, for the right students. So if you're interested in that, and that's what we're typically seeing. So for context, UIC is one of the most popular universities for us. It's the most popular actually in Southeast Asia. So the number of students who seem to be gravitating towards an urban campus, still have a campus environment, but an urban setting, that's definitely increasing over the last 3 or 4 years I've worked with the university. So it's really cool in terms of the opportunities, getting out and about. So you have the student life, but you can get out and about in town as well. So it's up to you how you like to kind of balance that, but you'll have all of that at your fingertips in particular. Cool, so we talked a bit about the rankings. So we're still in the top 150. What I would recommend anyone does as an individual when you're doing your research is have a think about which kind of majors you'd like to do, which kind of subjects you'd like to study, because that can really help you focus your research on which university might be right for you academically speaking. So maybe it might be something like computer science, it could be any subject, but we have a very strong undergraduate engineering program and computer science is part of that. So you can kind of start focusing some of your research that way. So for you guys, if you're listening in, I'm guessing, of course, you're interested in or potentially interested in studying in the US. We have thousands of four-year universities in America. So you're going to want to probably try and focus your research a bit instead of tearing your hair out, looking at 4,000 universities. And so that can be where rankings can help. Then, of course, as I said, you want to think about, okay, what kind of environment, what kind of campus environment, what kind of student life do I want from a university? I think if you ask yourself those kind of questions, you can work out whether UIC or a different type of environment is right for you. So for example, also on this slide, you can see things like the fact that we have around 33,000 students. That's pretty typical in the US as an average sized public institution. So you're going to see some universities in the US that are smaller, typically private schools. They might have around 6, 7, 10,000 students. A typical public school is going to have around 30,000 students. So we're kind of in that sweet spot. Doesn't mean classes are going to be huge. General education credits that you might share with other students doing different subjects. So that could be things like maybe doing a course in philosophy or psychology, just an initial credit. Those might have larger lecture room classes, but your seminar style teaching and learning, where you challenge your peers in the classroom, you speak and challenge the professor as well, if you'd like to. Those are going to be smaller classes. So we do have a student to faculty ratio of 18:1. So I'm not sure how big your classes are in your current school, but I think you'll find you have time to connect with your friends in the classroom, but also get to know your professors as well and have those professional academic relationships with them as well. Other than that, I guess the other stat is bottom left, at least on my screen, $370 million in research. So I touched upon that earlier. I think this is, again, an important factor for some students. So with the popularity for us of engineering students coming, there's lots of opportunities to get involved in research and really have that practical nature of study when you're with us. And so you're not just thinking, okay, I've got to grab that internship. You're going to get those soft skills and those practical areas of study specific to your major within the university as well. So you can kind of take a bit of a sigh of relief. And I think that can be important for many students. That's kind of a typical question we get is, you know, can I get involved in research? And that kind of thing. Cool. So I won't list all of these, but you can have a quick glance at them. And we can, of course, share the PowerPoint. We can share the guidebooks for you guys if you're interested in learning more. But this is really important, I think, just to, again, kind of set the scene for UIC when you're doing your research. So one of the important things we offer is a lot of choice in terms of degree offerings. So for those of you who've done your research, you probably already know this, but if you're just starting out in your university research, what we can offer is lots of choice. And so that can be a really good thing, because in the US education system, you don't have to have everything figured out straight away. So you can kind of take some of the stress away. You can breathe a nice deep sigh, or kind of sigh of relief first. And you can pick your major later. So what you do normally in the US education system, higher education system, is have a subject in mind, but come and do general education credits first. So when you're looking at these subjects, you could be maybe saying, right, I'm going to come and do a business course. You know, you might do entrepreneurship. And then when you get to the school, you might realize from meeting a fantastic professor or your friends or anything you've just kind of interacted with, you may be influenced in some shape or form and realize, actually, I'd like to do maybe information and decision sciences, which is really a nice combination of business analytics, MIS, and these kind of things. So you can maybe be a management consultant, for example. So what's great is you can identify someone like UIC and say, right, Chicago does sound like somewhere I'd like to live and study. And then you can actually choose your major later. So you don't have to declare your major area of study till even your second year, kind of typically before your third year at the very least. So of course, if a university like ours offers lots of choice, that can be helpful because you've identified where you want to be first, and then you know you've got the choice if you do get influenced by people, and you can make a decision later. Cool, just a quick one here. Again, I haven't heard from you. I'd always love to hear from you guys, but if there's anyone looking at potentially architecture, we do have a great School of Art and Design, and architecture is housed there as well. So other majors include graphic design and those kind of projects. You literally have your own space to work on your projects, your designs, and so that's really a great space. And so this is really just saying how, you know, Adrian Smith is an alumnus from UIC, and he was the chief architect for some of the buildings you see here that you're probably obviously aware of as well, like Burj Khalifa. I've touched on research already, so I'll just skip past that. I think what is important as well, if going to making some assumptions about you guys, because again, I can't see your faces, but if you're international students and you haven't been to the US before, you haven't had the chance to go to Chicago, we do want to make sure you feel supported. You know, we're not here. The whole point Vince and I are talking to you now is we're not here to just drop you into UIC and go, great, see you later, good luck. We do want to give you extra support, and really that support's there if you need it. So if you get used to the campus, you get used to studying, fine. You just know the resources are there if you need them. But most of our students will make use of what we offer at one point or another, especially in the first year of study, so your freshman year on campus. So typically my students will take advantage of maybe support from the academic advising, help keeping on track. When you've got all this choice for your majors, you want to be able to stay on track and still graduate on time. So 4 years typically for a normal bachelor's in the US. So because you have all this credit choice, you still want to stay on track. So an academic advisor will help guide you, listen to you, understand what you're looking to do, understand what you're looking to do career-wise as well, and make sure you graduate on time. And then from a specific lesson or course kind of help, we do offer UIC Global Tutoring as well. So you can see some of our students on the bottom right image, like Emily on the far right. She's one of my students from Myanmar. She's now, I think, in her 4th year of her biochemistry degree. She's looking to go into medical school. But she's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And so she helps, I think, in particular with, I think it's biology courses and math courses. So say you're working with a professor and you don't quite get their lecture or their style or their notes, you can connect with someone like Emily and get help with some of the lessons. So that's it. Cool. So then I think another thing is like, okay, why is UIC interesting, David? Why could it be useful for me? So another thing to perhaps pay attention to is the fact that we offer a guaranteed paid internship program for engineering students. And so that's straight into your first year as well. So if you're looking to get kind of a jump on the competition, and truly there is a global war on talent for chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, comp science, so on and so forth. GPIP's a really good, unique program that I don't see everywhere, because it allows you to have the industry prospects come onto campus and work with you, but because you're doing this internship on campus, you're getting all the skills, but what you do is you're not using up all of your post-study work time. So what we have in the US, some of you guys may again be familiar with this, is what's called OPT and CPT. So that's optional practical training and curricular practical training. So if you're interested in staying to work in the US after graduation, that is a real thing that you can do with us and with US universities. So what's great about GPIP is you're going to get paid for it. Not all the internships are paid, so that's always a bonus. And then perhaps more importantly, you're not using up any of that allotted time. So for an engineering student or a STEM major, it's 3 years of post-study work visa. So you actually stay on your student visa, but you have authorization to work. So it's actually a really, really good opportunity to, I guess, dive headfirst into figure out maybe what you like or even what you don't like. You know, sometimes it's easier to find out what you don't like. So, for example, I've had students realize quite quickly, and professors I've traveled with at the university, working in a lab as a lab technician, that's what they thought they wanted to do, and that's not for them. And that can be so valuable. And then that's, whilst you're still a freshman student, you've got all that time still after that as well, second year, third year, fourth year. So this is a really popular program, of course, with us, and I think it's worth shining a spotlight on this program in particular. Then you've got things like the makerspace at the university as well. So we have a whole space. I probably won't travel there this year, but typically get to go to the makerspace, catch up with the PhD students who help run the makerspace. But really it's a space for you to get involved and get trained on some of the equipment you may use in your careers actually, but of course at the university before that. But you know, any design ideas you have, any projects, you can make prototypes there, get trained on things like 3D printers. We have a huge selection of 3D Dremel printers. And so again, just that hands-on experience before you've even stepped foot in a company, you know, you're getting it at the university. And so we have those facilities. And I think that coming from the UK originally, I think that's one of the other bigger things that might strike you if you've never been to a US university before. If you walk around, if you have a tour, even a virtual tour, one of the things that might strike you is the scale and just the quality of the facilities that these US universities have. And UIC is no exception. I think that then kind of translates to the university actually. So if you're looking at Chicago and you want to stay maybe and work in the US, most of our students do, they're up for it. They maybe don't have it all figured out. Again, as I said, you don't have to, but you come to the city and what's great about Chicago is it's the #1 most diversified economy in the US. So if you're looking for work, you know that even if there's peaks and troughs in different industries, Chicago is going to be very healthy financially. So looking for work, those kind of things is particularly strong. Companies will come on campus to actively recruit you. As I said before, there really is a global war on talent in specific areas. And so you guys can honestly take advantage of that. Here's just some examples of some of the companies that would come onto campus and recruit. And then you can get support to network with these companies. How do you go about that? What's the best way of approaching them? how should my resume look? We will give you support for this aspect as well. So I kind of touched on that. So I just wanted to let you guys read that last slide. But UIC Global, we offer what's called the Career Accelerator Program. And again, this is kind of making sure that we're helping our international students in particular. So it doesn't cost anything extra. This is free of charge. But what we try and do is make sure that if you're not from the US, you may have slightly different work culture in your home countries, these kind of things. And so getting you to, have a bit of support where you can figure out, okay, how would I go about networking with a company, getting these internships and so on. And the Career Accelerator Program is really simply that. So you can sit down with a career advisor, work out what you're looking to do, how you get that internship, who should you approach, help with mock interviews, all of these sorts of things. You can get that kind of support from the Career Accelerator Program. So this is an addition to the career centers on campus, which are for everyone. So it's not to replace the career centers for everyone, it's just to complement that and then to help you kind of have someone a bit more dedicated for you as an international student. What really struck me as interesting was that our data, when we got some data back about students, one of the great things, of course, is the stories of success, and we have those. But also that when students did this free of charge, they had a higher grade point average as well, consistently. So really kind of one of the interesting takeaways from the initial data we've got. Cool, so I've talked a lot about careers. It's not all about planning for the future only. There is time to live in the moment and have fun as well. I do want to stress that. US University is set up for that. You will have kind of proper student life, student organizations that you can get involved with. And I'm pretty confident we have everything you could want organization-wise, society-wise, community-wise, getting involved in the community in Chicago as well. There's all these kind of things that you can do. But if you don't see what you're looking for, you could even set up your own organization as well. But because we are a nice large public institution, we have lots of different opportunities. So again, that's something that you may want to think about in your research. I think some students might overestimate how much time they're going to be out in Chicago. And yet, you will spend time on campus because of the friends you make on campus and so on. So there's the student life as well. We're not all about just hanging out in Chicago itself. It's very much grounded in the campus as well, like some of the college towns you might consider, or college town universities you might consider as well. It's probably, housing is more, in terms of details, probably worth talking about when you're actually strongly considering coming to UIC. But it's worth just mentioning that Chicago is the third largest city in the US. And so from a housing perspective, it can be very useful to live on campus. We have on-campus housing. As I've said, as you saw on the map, we're in a really good position. So it can be very convenient. So some of our students will ask to, in fact, stay on campus even in their second year. And so there are some good opportunities there. So even as the third largest city, what surprises a lot of people is that when you have access to all the trappings of a large city in terms of history, culture, arts and entertainment, shopping, we have all of that in Chicago. You can make anything you want out of yourself in such a city. But we don't have the price tag of a smaller city like San Francisco or a New York or a Boston. I think you'll see that Boston's getting super expensive. Chicago doesn't have that. So I think a lot of students are pleasantly surprised by the cost of living while still having access to such an amazing city. And so accommodation can be part of that. So just worth pointing that part out in particular. And as I said, some students actually stay on campus. So it's mandatory to live on campus for the first year. That's pretty typical at any US university. I think it's around 95% of universities will say, coming on campus, if you don't have relatives, for example, nearby, you would live on campus. There's only a few that do immediate housing waivers. And there's good reason for that. So you can get used to the university, close to the library, close to your lectures, and you just settle in and make friends and so on and so forth. Quick one to talk about, of course, as well. Large city, safety is an important factor. Just like kind of coming from London myself, you do want to be aware of your surroundings. You do want to kind of make sure that you're, you know, not head down, looking at your phone. You've got to be making sure you're kind of not a target. So we do take safety seriously on campus, especially as an urban environment. You know, we have opportunities for you to just make sure that you're protecting yourself, but also if you need support, it's there from a safety aspect as well. So say, for example, you're studying late in the library, like all good students should do, or sometimes when you have finals, you maybe want to get escorted back to your accommodation. And so you can get that from the campus security. But we'll also kind of talk to you about Chicago and, you know, getting around the city as well. So again, for those students who want that kind of training or understanding, you can get that first and foremost as well. And just make sure you feel settled into the city as quickly as possible. Cool, last but not least, I just wanted to kind of talk a bit about the entry requirements. So what you can see here is some different options. Typically for the students in the Philippines and the schools like your own that we talked to, you're looking for direct entry. And so it's the first column there, what's called international direct. That's simply put, that's just direct entry. And you would want a US equivalent GPA of 3.0 and typically an IELTS of 6.5, a TOEFL of IBT of 80 with no subscore below 16. So for you guys, typically it's quite a simple admission process. It's not loads and reams of documents to apply. We're just looking for those two things, your high school transcripts and some form of English proficiency test. So we waive the SAT if you don't, if you've not been planning to study in the US forever, you're not from the US, why would we judge you on that? So we actually typically waive that. If you're still planning on doing it, maybe you're using it to apply to other schools that you're considering, that's fine. We'll still look at those kind of supporting documents gladly and look favorably upon them for things like scholarship opportunities as well. So it's actually quite a simplified admission process. We don't need letters of recommendation. We don't need personal statements. The only additional requirement can be subject or major specific. So say one of you, again, I can't see your faces, but say one of you are interested in drama, theatre, that kind of thing, performing arts, music, you may need to do a interview kind of beforehand, kind of performance interview prior to acceptance to that major. So there's those kind of things, but other than that's pretty typical for those kind of specific majors. Other than that, it's quite a simple format. And so that really allows you to maybe focus on doing your research about us. And so, as I said, we do have scholarships. The university has entrusted me to manage those for this region. So I take that very seriously. And we do run scholarship interviews for students who qualify. So all you need to have is a 3.0 GPA or higher to qualify. And then the process is just to do an interview with myself. So whilst I take it seriously, it's actually quite informal. So I don't want it to be some super formal interview where I'm just asking questions and you're trying to think, do I need to get the right answer? There is no right or wrong answer. I've done this for 4 years. What we realize is, or I've realized personally, there's much more value in having a proper conversation with you where you guys can open up and tell me what you're thinking. You know, why is US important for you for your further studies? Why Chicago could be right for your ambitions and maybe your career goals or volunteer reasons, you know, whatever it might be, your hobbies and interests, that's what I want to hear about. And so it's definitely a bit more casual. So we'll probably spend about an hour, typically, one-on-one talking in those interviews. But what's great is that they are 4-year scholarship opportunities. So you don't have to reapply for the scholarship every year. It's just automatically renewed. All you have to do to maintain that scholarship is maintain a 3.0 GPA at the school. And that's it. So it's actually really, really strong. They're not year one scholarships only, and so on and so forth. So have enjoyed working with students in that regard for 4 years now. I've got students I've been able to work with. Ideally, what you want to do is apply ahead of time. So I know Melissa and the school will help you do that, and you probably have even stricter requirements from some other universities. But it's worth pointing out we do have flexible admission deadlines as well. So on occasion, things don't always go according to your best wishes, your best laid plans. So I have had students in Southeast Asia who I've met at the last possible moment, and we've still been able to help them. So I think it's worth just leaving you with that, this one story where I had one student who, and she realized, no, my heart says no, I want to be in the US because, so her intuition, her gut feeling, because she wanted to straddle healthcare and tech. And she realized probably doing something around computer science in those industries, the US and somewhere like Chicago is a better place for that. So the deadline to apply for that intake had already passed by a day or two or a couple of days. And so I met with her and spoke to the university on her behalf and just said admissions and said, I think we should consider the student still. Can we do something? So we were able to help her still. She's fantastic. She's at the university. She's still got a scholarship. She's in the honors college with us, and she's, you know, a 4.0 GPA at a 4.0. So, you know, just a fantastic story. So sometimes the best laid plans don't work out. Maybe you have tried for a different school and you're looking at maybe even a safety school, dare I say it. We can sometimes help in that regard as well. So I just want to make sure that you guys kind of leave you with that, you know, that reassurance that, you know, we're here to help both Vincent and myself in the region. So we're only, you know, a quick email away from getting on a call with you guys and helping out with applications, that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that was useful. But I'd love to field any questions. I saw some bits and pieces in the chat, but if anyone would like to come off mute, ask any questions, or you think I've missed something, please tell me and we can go over that.
Any questions, guys?
Or I covered everything, I guess, Melissa, and it's,
I think
you're making it easy for me. You guys are making it too easy for me on a Friday. I think that's what it is. You're too kind.
now, you know, our students are used to information sessions like this. So they usually ask questions after. Like they have to absorb it first, and they have
Sure.
to talk to their parents. They have to read more about it, and then they will send an email.
Yeah, that's fine.
To you in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing. I think that's what we're quite blessed in that, you know, with UIC and UIC Global, we're based here. So I'm just an hour behind you guys in Thailand. Vincent's in Manila. So we're kind of blessed in terms of, I guess, the human resources to just jump on a call or answer your emails later. So, you know, just give us a shout. Melissa, I just had one question. Rena, Krishna,
All right.
Alexis, are you guys in your year 11, year 12, year 10? What year are you guys in?
I'm on my year 12.
Okay, cool. So yeah, kind of research time for sure then.
Rina is in 11.
Yeah.
And then Alexis is in 12.
Okay. So you're at that research stage. So yeah, like Melissa said, we're you know, if you want to digest the information, feel free to come back with any questions you have. Even if it's just more generally maybe about the US as well, we're quite happy to do that. Vincent does work with other universities as well. So, you know, if you do see, you know, some things that are interesting about UIC, but maybe it doesn't quite hit what you're looking for, there may be other universities that we can help with as well. And they may have academic scholarship, merit-based scholarships as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out later. And
I just have one question before we go,
sure.
regarding the English
Right.
proficiency score.
Sure.
Would UIC accept a certificate of English as a medium of instruction from Readly?
just issued from Readly itself?
Yes.
I'd like to say yes, but it's actually a no. More as a standard. So it's, of course, nothing directed to Readly itself as an individual institution. So we come across this against this, I should say, in the Philippines or even in Singapore, where I work, where currently the US universities typically still want to see something like a TOEFL or IELTS.
Okay.
Now, again, I didn't hear you guys too much today, and I'm not an English teacher, so I certainly wouldn't judge your English, but I'm making some assumptions that you've got great English, and that's why Miss Melissa is asking that question. So typically, if you have that strong English, you haven't maybe planned to take a TOEFL or an IELTS, there's another one here on the slide called ITEP, which is lesser known, but it's actually pretty typical to use for applications as well. We offer that free of charge to you guys. So all we need is a bit of your time for the application to take that. You wouldn't have to pay anything that way. And you just get that score, and that can be used for your application instead. So that's what we typically do. It's very common for us to use that in across Southeast Asia, so Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, just to counteract that. Because Melissa, I agree with you. It would be great knowing what kind of school, international school you are. I personally don't have any concerns, but admissions just need need some kind of standardized testing just to kind of make it fair.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Vincent was able to, I think one of our students or two of our students were able to take the ITEP last time.
Okay, great.
Applied to another Shoreline school as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, Vincent was very accommodating. So
Okay, great.
yeah, so for Krishna, Alexis, and Rina, if you don't have any TOEFL or IELTS, you can just contact Vincent and David, and then you can actually take the ITEP instead. All right. So do you have any more questions? Krishna, do you have questions?
Yes, I don't.
You don't? Okay. What about Alexis? Do you have questions? Arena? No? None? Okay. So I think everything is clear. So thank you so much, David. Thank you, Vincent. We'll ask
guys.
for the recording so that we can also send it to the other students who weren't able to attend.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for your time as well, guys, and have a good weekend as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
Happy weekend.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.